The Peach Bowl is about to get rolling here New Year's Eve. It'll be in Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Beautiful venue. I mean, it is just first class, first rate, everything down there. We got Georgia and Ohio State set to tee it up. We have already given you our prediction in this game. So if you haven't yet gone and checked that out, go ahead and do that after the live show, of course. After you watch this video, go and check out the prediction. But the reality of it is everybody has a way they think it could go conceptually, and they have opinions on players and this, that, and the other. That's cool. We partake in that 100%. But I would just say this, a lot of the game is X's and O's. And so what I want to break down for us right now, what is the game plan for both of these teams, offensively and defensively, for both operations? What is going to be the plan of attack? So we'll start here with Georgia. The Georgia defense is one of the best in the country, and they have their work cut out for them against Ohio State. It's no secret. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to make a whole lot of money in the NFL when that time comes. C.J. Stroud, same deal. Going to be a millionaire because of what he can do slinging the pigskin. So defensively for Georgia, how do you match up, especially in that secondary? Everybody's talking about the 500 yards they gave up against LSU and how bad that was for that secondary, and, oh, is that a weakness for them? If you want to talk yourself into that being a weakness, I think that's reaching a little bit. Is it an area of opportunity? Yes, but not for the reasons that I think the majority of the public believe it is. Here's the deal for Georgia. Defensively, they're going to let you have pretty much whatever you want underneath. Now, when I say underneath, what does that mean? They're going to play a lot of soft zone coverage. So when you're watching this game at home, here's what to look for. You're going to see the corners with their back to the sideline. And you're going to see them probably 3 to 4 yards off the ball, if not more. So what does that tell you if you're the offense? Hey, you get whatever green grass is in front of you, but we're not letting the big play happen. The only exception to this is with Kelee Ringo. He is their number one corner, and they let him play like it. They let him go man up against the best receiver. So keep an eye on that for number 5 with Kelee Ringo and what he does against Marvin Harrison Jr. and how much they play that way. Michigan actually did that relatively well in the early going, kind of got beat a few times, but for the most part, it's going to be take what's in front of you, but we're not letting you get more than that. And then when it gets to the red zone for this Georgia secondary, they go man coverage. And what does that tell you if you're the opposition? Hey, in a street fight, we like our guys versus your guys. We're going to go man coverage across the board, and if you beat us, good for you, but guess what? We recruit better than anybody else in the country. We develop just as well as anybody else in the country. We're going to let our guys play. And if you beat us, you beat us. But that would be the way that you win, is routinely beating this team one-on-one in the red zone. That's one way to win, rather. For the Ohio State offense, you look at that and you say, okay, they're going to, kind of give us that soft zone. Well, we got some freak shows. Starting with Marvin Harrison Jr., he is a dude. Julian Fleming, he is a dude. And the goal for Ohio State then is, okay, get the ball out to our players in space, and then when they try to rally up in that zone coverage kind of look, we got to beat them with speed. We got to get what we call in the football world YAC. I told you, we love acronyms in the football world. YAC is Y-A-C, yards after catch. So when you catch that button hook at 5 yards, make it 15. Break a tackle, get around the edge, make something happen. I think this game could come down to, at least in the early going, making plays in space for Ohio State and for Georgia being able to tackle consistently. Let me tell you this. If you don't tackle Marvin Harrison at your first shot at it, boy, could be a long day. Could be a very long day, all right? So that's going to be something that's interesting to watch. The game between the 20s, and then when you get in the red zone against Georgia, can you make them pay? Can you capitalize on that street fight mentality they're asking you to play on the back end? All right? Switching gears here. If you haven't yet subscribed, now's the time. We would love to have you at this operation, at this function, all right? This is a party for college football fans. We don't care who you root for. We love this game just like you. We cover it year-round. Just like you pay attention to it all year round, you found your spot. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're locked in. Also, follow me on Twitter and on Instagram, a great way for us to interact and do more of what you want to see on this program. So, when Georgia has the football, how's it going to go down? You're going to see a lot of 12 personnel. So what that means is you're going to see 1 running back and 2 tight ends. More than likely, Darnell Washington and Brock Bowers. Why is that significant? Well, when you have 2 big human beings, like Darnell Washington, who's essentially a tackle that can run, and then Brock Bowers, who is an action figure, you have to be able to match their mass, if that makes sense. Like, I can't have Brock Bowers matched up against a free safety. It's a mismatch. Like, I can run with him, yes, but in the run game, when he comes to block me, that's advantage Georgia every single time. We have to match the physicality from a mass perspective to be able to account for the run game. So what does that do for Georgia? Well, if you have to worry about the run game and trying to, beat the block of Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington with those lighter players, well, then at that point, we can just run the football at you all day long. We can just get downhill quick, fast, and in a hurry. When I say downhill, Georgia likes to run a 2 variety consistently when it comes to how they run the football. The first is inside zone, and to make it as simplistic as possible, they're going to allow their big human beings to take you wherever you want to go. So you want to run left against us as a defensive line, we're going to push you left, and we're going to let our running back just cut off our tail. It's the way it goes. Second thing I like to do is run a fair amount of pulling offensive linemen and get on the perimeter. You'll see them toss it out to the running back and see that guard come around with them just like a personal bodyguard, and they will get downhill. And that's bad for business because typically for Georgia, they're able to get their offensive lineman on an outside linebacker or on a safety, or when it's a rated R situation, a lineman on a corner. Don't let your children watch if that ends up happening. So the reality for Georgia, we're going to be who we want to be until you make us stop it. And then when you want to try and match up with us with our big bodies and you say, okay, you know what, let's go and put the more mass on the field. Let's put a linebacker in there. Linebacker's not covering Brock Bowers. Linebacker's not covering Darnell Washington. So if they can catch you in that personnel grouping, they're going to be able to take advantage of it, is Georgia. So keep an eye on that. The second thing, or I guess the second part of this, is Ohio State's defense. And for them, with Jim Knowles, I love the way that they play defense. I know the Michigan game feels a little bit bitter if you're an Ohio State Buckeye fan, but the way that Jim Knowles operates is just like his former team he was with a year ago. Cowboy kind of attitude. Oklahoma State Cowboys, that's who Jim Knowles is, man. He is a cowboy. He is going to play high risk, high reward, play for keeps. That's how we get down if we're Ohio State. What they're going to do a lot of is add players into that box to try and stop the bleeding for the Georgia run game. Because Georgia, like I said, they're going to be who they want to be until you stop it. Well, the way they're going to stop it, when they have those tight ends on the field, they're going to bring a safety closer to the line of scrimmage. And so if they can do that, it's going to make it a little bit easier to dial up some blitzes. Because that's also what Georgia, that's what Ohio State wants to make Georgia do. If you can stop the run and get a 3rd and 7, well, guess what? Then you have the opportunity to be a little bit creative. You can bring that extra safety. You can run a little twist because it's an obvious passing situation. On 3rd and 7, likely Georgia's going to throw the football. When you know they're throwing the football, you have a chance to dial up a pass rush. So a lot of this game, I think, when Georgia has the football, will be predicated on 1st and 2nd down. Can Ohio State get at least one stop in those first 2 downs? Even better, can they get a negative play within those first 2 downs and force an obvious passing situation? Because then JT Tuimoloau is going to be able to eat. Okay, and if he can eat, good things are going to happen for Ohio State. That's a big if, because you have to get past that Georgia offensive line. It's real good, but that's going to be the way that you would like to live if you're Ohio State. All right? So, in summary, Georgia's going to let you get what you get underneath until you get to the red zone. For Ohio State, can you break tackles? Can you make them miss in space? Can you get some yak? That's what we need if we're Ohio State. Make some game-breaking plays. Because when you get to the red zone, Georgia goes street fight mode. One-on-one, you versus me, mano-y-mano. Can you beat us? Most people haven't consistently beat us. And if you do, good on you. Flipping things over, for Ohio State, they are going to try and stop the run as much as possible on those first 2 downs. Georgia's going to be who they want to be until you make them do otherwise. Can you make them do otherwise? It's going to be very, very important in this game. So I'm excited to see it. Those are the game plans, how I see it unfolding for the Peach Bowl. But I promise you, entertainment value will be high. This is going to be a physical football game. People talk about Ohio State and what they didn't do against Michigan. I promise you, they've watched the tape. They've heard about it for weeks now, about how they couldn't hold up against Georgia, or against Michigan, how they won't be able to hold up against Georgia. They've internalized all that, and we're going to see them play, in my opinion, their most inspired and toughest brand of football to this point in the year. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.